What's going on, advocates? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is a guest that was supposed to have been on years when this first started, because I've been admiring from afar. We actually got to speak together at a school some years back. And honestly, I don't know if you know this, but I've seen you go from Vita. That's where I first got introduced to Vita and the Soul Tribe, and she's been on the podcast. She actually just came out. So I don't like to miss a credential or misrepresent. So please introduce yourself to the people.
Hey man, well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. My name is Kyle the Conductor. Um, I'm a man who's a conductor, so I lead people. We make things shake. I convert energy into greater things. And yeah, I'm an edutainer, so I'm someone who educates and entertains. I'm a servant. Um, so that's a thing, and that's really it, man. I'm a student, soon to be father, husband, brother, son, a bull, a John. I'm all those things, man. So I'm all those things and more. I'm just some of my experiences. But right now I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Nah, and I thank you for making time in your schedule. Anytime I get a person that wears many hats or has their hand in many things, I don't take it for granted, because you offer so much value and so much effort to the world. So how'd you let's start from the beginning. How'd you even become a conductor or tap in to know that you were a conductor?
I think so. It's funny, man. My dad was a conductor for SEPTA growing up. So like from 87 to 2004, he was a conductor on the train. So I spent a lot of time with him on the trains, watching him lead, keep people on track in that capacity. Um, I think that I knew when I was a little kid, and my teachers used to say, Kyle loves being the center of attention, class clown, all of those like little notes in my report card. And that's what conductors do. Like they are able to conduct themselves in a way that conducts energy in a room a certain way, and conducts the people, like mobilizes them to do something. So if you got them cracking jokes and laughing and skylarking playing around, then that's what you're doing as a conductor, right? But when you get older or more mature and you realize you can conduct yourself more positively, to conduct the energy in the room more positively, and ultimately conduct your people to freedom, that's when it's like, oh, I'm a conductor. Like I need to be intentional of how I use my space. Even approaching like the spoken word scene, like shout out to Vita, but like recognizing that if I'm doing a piece that that's a little heavier and still transparent and still authentic, but it's something that can cause people to be in a space that they may not necessarily want to be. It could ultimately lead to healing, but I need to be intentional when I use my words in public spaces to make sure that I'm not doing any harm. Like the first rule is do no harm, right? So um, recognizing I'm a conductor in that way is a thing. And then ultimately, funny thing, man, when we first started giving out food and stuff to the community, it was during a time where the markets were getting raided. And we were at the Aldi on 46 and Market, and this black cop, I still got his badge number. He came over and was giving us a hard time. So our vision was we give out food at the markets that were broken into and shut down because people are used to going there for food and services. We had a great model. It made sense. We would be at 3 to 6 different markets or corners throughout the city for about 6 or 7 weeks until everything balanced out. And at the time, we're out there and it's like people out there, their kids, like we're all out there ready to serve. Just put the 6 foot tables out ready to make a shake. And a cop is like, what are y'all doing out here? Where'd you get the food from? Who like all these questions, but it also like and it's like giving us this heat thinking we stole the food. So, but what I realized is that his first question was, "Who's in charge here?" And everyone pointed at me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in charge, me." I thought I just called y'all and put it on the gram, but and I think that was a moment where I realized like this before we had the community center, before we were already in schools, but not in the same way. So before eco, I would really say blew up. That black cop reminded me, my community backed them up, and just like who was charged with leading these people. So conductor came from that regard. Whether I wanted to do it or not. And plus, Harriet Tubman is the first conductor of this side of the Atlantic, and Moses was the one before her. So it's I'm just one of many doing what I was called to do. So that's my little spiel.
No, and it's funny that you said that, because you start to look back, and we met we crossed paths so many times, and even Blackman Hill was just another intersection. Before Blackman
Right.
Hill, we was at a school together. Before being at the school together again with Vita, so we crossed so
Yep.
many times in so many capacity. It was only right for us to have this conversation. But you spoke of something that, like you said, conducting and you recognizing that if you were already doing it, but you hadn't even like tapped into knowing and doing it. All my all my pink slips from school was he talks too much. Like he just
Yeah.
have conversations too much when people are, we're doing schoolwork. And I'm like, oh, all right, that wasn't a bad thing. It was a bad thing in school in the wrong environment, but it's the right environment for podcasting. Like, yo, you want to talk and you want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So I've been
Yeah.
having podcasts since I was a kid. I just was
Hmm.
having them in the wrong spaces. And just recognizing that ability and utilizing it in a way that is natural to you. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that part of your story. One part of your story that this is why I now ask for biographies and getting people how they see themselves or how they built their biography. I had no clue you were shot before.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
clue. Mind you, all these intersections, all these cross path things,
Yeah.
seeing the work that you're doing, edutainment, all of those different things. I'm like, when the hell did Kyle get shot? Like, just talk about those experiences.
Yeah. It's funny, man, because for a while it was such a big part of my identity. It's been 9 years. 2022. Yeah, it's been 9 years. So it's been such a big part of my identity that I felt like I was. It's funny. I'm looking at this painting right here by Shanina Diana, and it's the name of the painting is called "Not Victim." And this isn't a video podcast, right? This is just all
Oh no,
audio.
it's video. It's
Oh,
video.
it's
It's
video. I'm
yeah.
gonna show people. I'm gonna show people. So it's called Not Victim, and it's that brown one, not the Toby Nwigwe joint in the back. And either way, so Not Victim. I bought it. It called me. Like she had a series of a bunch of them, and I forgot that. Like I never knew the title of it, but I'm like, I need that. Like that was my first apartment, my first time buying art. I was like, I need that. And when I found out the title was Not Victim, um, being a gunshot survivor, I used to call myself a gunshot victim. And when I found out the title and a little bit about the story behind it, I'm like, yo, that's real. Like we're survivors of the things we went through. Um, in 2000 and New Year's Day, technically, because it was 3:28 a.m. We were in North Philly at 1711 West Venango Street, and we were chilling. Like prior to 3:28 a.m., we was chilling. Like, we was having a good time. I probably got there around like 12, 1, probably like around 1 o'clock because I didn't, the ball dropped somewhere else. We party hopping. I was 22, and I was 21, about to be 22, and I get to the spot. Uh, Playing games, eating mac and cheese, chicken, like it's just a regular joint. People drinking, people who smoke was in the front room. Like we was all like vibing. It wasn't like a turn up wild party. We literally playing taboo, like, and the men were beating the women. Like we actually like because women be cheating in taboo. I don't know if you ever played or not, but it was a great game. And the shooter came in with his friends, and his name is I don't know if really, that's a public case. His name is Lawrence Jeffries, and he was 22 because I was 21, so he was 22, and he came in with his homies, and they had something out of a TV show. Somebody stepped on someone else's shoe while flirting with his girlfriend, and he stood up, and like the boy whose shoe he stepped on was like 6'3", and the boy who stepped on the shoe was like 5'8". So we all go over there and break it up. Like, bro, it's food, it's a good time. We're not into all of that. And then one of their friends started arguing with one of our friends, and like we already shook hands and all of that because apparently a couple of my homies already met them. And everybody there, we done went to school together, like since middle school. We went to high school together. Two of the young man who got his shoe stepped on he was a senior at the high school we all graduated from. He's like our younger cousin, so he was like that age group. But we were all either just graduated college or whatever. Like some girls they I even knew from church. Like we was on the choir together. So it was just wild that we were all such an intimate setting. And the girl whose house we knew since 8th grade. We had graduated at this point. So we were chilling. One of them kept arguing with the other bull, and like just back and forth, like slick head, like like it's not that deep. A punch gets thrown. The shooter apparently didn't know that he turned the light off, but the lights went out because he backed into like the light switch or whatever. But yeah, shot and killed. And my friend wasn't dead at this time, but Stephen Kyrie Johnson was shot twice, once in the chest, once in the arm, on his left side. And And then I was shot like 6 times, but I was standing. And so it's funny because I mean, like funny, not funny, haha, like oh, but it was ironic when so the thing is I didn't know I was being shot, and then on the last, like right before the last bullet rather hit my foot, um, I felt someone pull me down by like my waistline, and my homie Dave Ford, shout out to Dave Ford from Dave Ford Productions. I thought he pulled me down. He said I was terrified. I didn't touch, bro. I didn't move. That wasn't me. I said, no, bro. I know what it feels like when someone like yanks you by your clothes or whatever, and pulled me to the ground. But come to find out, well, according to like readings I've gotten and elders I've spoken to, and even people who didn't know me from a can of paint, but like some woman met my mom at some church thing and like started like prophesizing and said, "Angel saved your son that night." And pulled him down, like things that she couldn't have known. Like I never shared that in an interview or none of that. So either way, pulled me to the ground, and then I pulled the couch over top of me. By the time I crawled back out, I saw Steve. He was unconscious at the time. My homie Kashi from Nosy Palette, he also got shot in the bottom of the foot because he had like his hands and feet up, like don't shoot or whatever. And another sister, she jumped out the front window or back window or one of the windows and ended up breaking her feet and was in a wheelchair for 6 months, which sucked because she was a college basketball player.
Mm.
So I think she was older too. I think that was her season or her career. But not older, but like, I think she was like a junior or senior. So I think her career was over. But either way, Lawrence Jeffries, he killed my friend Stephen Kyrie Johnson. My friend, call him my brother, Kashif Butler, owner of Nosy Palette. He went to therapy every Tuesday after that. I didn't go to therapy until 2017. This was New Year's Day, 2013. So for a while, I just dealt with that. And Lawrence, actually, it was his dad's gun. His dad trained my dad at SEPTA to become a conductor. We didn't know until we went to court. So I think he was a junior and I was a junior. And I think my dad was saying that name sounds familiar. So either way, we found that out at court. So small world. But I don't harbor any ill feelings towards Lawrence. And I was just telling my wife that I would like to visit him maybe next year. It'll be like the 10-year mark. He turned himself that night when he was leaving. It was a cop serving a warrant around the corner. So he bumped into the cop car and just put the gun on the hood, said it was self-defense, turned himself in. That Friday he was charged with his charges. So but for years I didn't go to therapy. When I first met my wife, we were still friends. I think we had maybe just started dating or maybe still been friends. It was weird in the beginning. But she had said, I'm your friend, not your therapist. And it's not fair to me or any other friends that you lean on us in this way because you need professional like help. You can't just expect that you can get drunk and then vent to your friends and that's all the therapy and healing that you need, or even you do it sober. Like you can't just pour into me in that way and expect us to be able to do for you what you need done. You need to go to therapy. So I went to Spectrum Health Services, and that was my first therapist. I ended up being on the board of directors at Spectrum when my therapist left. But it was cool at first, tried to put me on Zoloft, which I wasn't really feeling. So I was kind of like left a bad taste of therapy in my mouth. But then Black Man Hill came along, and after having not negative experience, but not the experience that I needed in therapy, Black Man Hill pairing me and matching me with a therapist that was based on what my needs were, what I was going through, a very specific profile. Not just like, I'm not on just Psychology Today, just scrolling, looking for people. Are they Black? Or are they fit my insurance? Like, so that was helpful. And I was connected with Tony, the light worker, and been rocking with him ever since. Did my 8 sessions and been paying for it after that. Wish I was honest sooner to save a little bit of money, but I opened up to him eventually, and it's been like 3 years now, 4 years. So yeah, been rocking out.
All right. Well, I gotta ask first. You said you started with Black Man Hill. What year?
I think it was 2018.
Okay. No, so you was in the first cohort.
Yeah, it was.
I've been waving that flag
so.
because I'm one of the first people. I've been waving that
Yeah,
flag on my.
it was
I'm
like me,
I was in the
you,
first.
sir. At least those are the brothers I know who went through it personally. That's how I met Sir.
Right.
On
Me
there
too.
with Sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you went through the first cohort of Blackman Hill, but it's something that I wanted to tap into because of your efforts, not your efforts, the legendary work that you're doing within the city, your experience with gun violence. You said you were able to forgive him and you want to go visit him. I always felt like when it comes to gun violence, and mind you, you probably got the answer into your experience. There's a never ending cycle because what Kyle could now respond and say is, you killed my close friend, you shot me and could have killed me. I'm on your head forever. And
Yeah.
that's usually the cycle of gun violence and why it will never end, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But just speak from your experience as a person that was in that position and how you view gun violence in the city now.
I think as a survivor of gun violence is different because one, I died on the hospital table that night temporarily. Obviously, I'm still here. So I think that, when your life literally leaves you, like you're not there, and then your family hears the cold blue, which means the heart stopped or whatever. Um, it's not just the survivor who may want to seek vengeance or revenge. It's the family who had to go through that too. Like my friends were covered in blood in the police station until like 5, 6 a.m. between me and my friend's blood. So because they had to like write statements and say what they saw and all this other stuff. Like they had to relive that in court over and over again. So um, I think when people hold court in the streets, it it's because they are. Let's take a step back. So I, I didn't lose my only child. I didn't lose my only brother, my only friend, like my only Stephen Kyrie Johnson with his family, like he was only child. So like with his cousin, like with his family, with like I can't say that how they like their roads to forgiveness, even if they're there or not there. Like I can't speak to that. But as a friend of someone who was shot, as someone who was shot, as things on my end, for me, it's just about holding on to that. Will only I don't think I was ever really angry at him. I just was confused because I grew up in Roxborough and I wanted to be something that I wasn't. This brother was from Glenside, PA. Like he's from the burbs, like Jenkintown, like up that way, like Ardmore, not Ardmore, whatever that, Abington, all of that. So I think looking at like our life's trajectory, if I didn't catch a small weapons on school property charge for like having a BB gun with the orange tip cut off, thinking I was in G Unit, thought I was 50 Cent when I was selling weed and Xannies on my retainer case. Like if that wasn't because I was from Roxborough, like it wasn't like if I didn't go through that May 5th, 2005 and spend a little bit of time at Juvenile Justice Center, then I don't know if that wouldn't have been me. How do I know I wouldn't have had that lesson as an adult? Like, so instead of weapon on school property because my friend shot some girl in the leg with a BB gun, how do I know that wouldn't have been me and that same person being a co-defendant years later in a similar situation as the shooter? So I think having that empathy is there. As far as gun violence in the city, a lot of it is retaliation, and that's why it's concentrated on like streets, like 5th Street, 7th Street in South Philly, or like regardless of what you're talking about, like up here in Southwest or in West or whatever. Every neighborhood is it's like block by block, family by family, been beefing for generations. Um, and I can't speak to that. That's not the kind of gun violence that I experience, but I know I see it in my students. I see it in my former students. I see it in young people that I know. I see it in people my age who are still ready to go do some bad things when gun violence and death hits that close to home, right? But I can only say that if we don't have the resources to get to the bottom of it, I'm not saying you put two people who are hurting because that the ops got to them is going to put them in the same room. That's going to be like some magical Disney moment. I think that could work for some, but I think it's so much bigger than those two people. Like communities need healing, whole families need healing. So I don't know what the solution is, and I think that's the hard part about doing this work. Like, am I just putting band-aids on bullet wounds when I'm trying to, give out food and give people jobs and connect them to resources or whatever I'm doing? Because that's a temporary solution. That's a temporary fix. That's not necessarily going to be the thing that is going to keep them going. But as long as the city of Philadelphia is spending $1.4 billion more on policing than they are education, as long as we have our neighborhoods be the way they are, people can't get approved for the loans they need. And I mean, even outside of like anything related to capitalism, as long as we don't have the social service and mental health services in our community and the people policing their own community, then I don't see how this will ever change, because there's a lot of OGs who come home and want to change things that may have that pull in the streets. It's a lot of great organizations doing that work, but if they're not getting the resources and funding and opportunity and connected to like human resources that can bring people to come and speak to gunshot survivors and families of survivors and all of them, then I don't know what we're talking about. It's all everyone wants to rally when it's, when Walter White got killed, assassinated by the cops on camera in front of his family in West Philly, walking distance from our community center. Like when not Walter White, Walter Wallace. I've been watching a lot of Breaking Bad lately. My bad. Like, I'm binging it with my wife now, but Walter Wallace got killed. It like everyone was like rallying and all of that and protesting. We saw it here in Philly, and then we're right back to normal. And for them, it's not normal. It hasn't been normal. So I don't know.
No, and you spoke on it a little bit, and I battle with that myself. Well, two things. First thing with the gun violence and what you said, we are actually with Blackman Hill and the Equal Foundation are doing some work with the gun violence in the city this summer upcoming. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And being as transparent as possible, I got some close homies that as much work as we do community work, as much work as you do healing work, have conversation podcasts, I will contribute. And I can say that I know I would contribute to the gun violence if I know who killed one of my homies, like in this space that I'm in now. Like, and if I could do something about it, just so his family could be like, all right, it was like people looking at you like, yo, what you gonna do? That's your homie. Like you better do something. And that peer pressure and that. So what you said is so true about healing work within the community is sometimes way bigger than the individuals that are a part of it. They have to go through so many things as well. It was a question I had in there and I just lost it. But putting band-aids on, bigger problems. How do you cope, process all of those therapeutic terms with that? Because sometimes I feel like us having this conversation be useless sometimes. Sometimes the work that we're doing with Blackman Hill, to me in my eyes, sometimes it's like, are we really healing when there's gun violence still happening in the city? And so I'll be thinking about it like in a sense of like, is it ever going to change? Are we always be in this space? And it kind of gets, depressing because you never know if you're really doing the work.
I mean, to your point, bro, I think it's hard, right? Like if you're honest with yourself, so it's not about being honest, it's about being like to think so boldly and so radically and still have hope in the midst of us being up whatever percentage in homicides this year compared to last year, which was the highest, compared to the year before that, which was almost the highest in 30 years. Like, how do we find peace? Not in peace. How do we continue to hope knowing that things are so bad right now? Like things are so bad right now, bro. Like people are still dying from regular stuff, like car accidents and heart attacks and whatever else, right? So how do you teach kids y equals mx plus b, or I equals I before e except after c, and like how do you teach them all this like fundamental foundational stuff that they need for either the right now or K to 12 or life after, if they decide to go to like secondary, post-secondary school, whatever. But like, how do you teach them that stuff and geography and whatever, and also know that they have so many bigger problems? Like they have like the things that they're facing are just so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than what we can offer them after school, which is why sometimes I really want to prioritize like our like self-defense classes, our like swimming, urban gardening, like some things that I believe lead to liberation. Can you ride a bike? Do you know the laws? Depending on age, firearm safety training, stop the bleeding training, what's it called, CPR, first aid, like all of that. So shout out to Heart Changers organization. and Tammy. But I don't like. I want to focus on just those things because I see what it is, and we need soldiers, we need warriors, we need people ready to fight this fight. Because you and I, we have families now. I can't make some of those sacrifices and take those chances. Tupac said on the end of the Mortal Man interlude, so Kendrick's album, To Pimp a Butterfly, had a song called Mortal Man. And then after that, he had a conversation with Tupac, and the way it was edited made it seem like it was a real conversation. But Tupac said, "You don't hear anybody loud mouth over 30 because if you don't get them by 25, like they lose that fight." And he didn't get into like the reasons why. But now that I'm over 30 and I have like a mortgage and a family and all of that, I can't take certain risks. My family needs me to be here, you know. So I'm just saying that I don't want to only focus on that and forget that kids need poetry. Kids need communication classes. They need sign language. They need music production. They need the arts. They need the good fun. They need homework help and tutoring help to make sure that they're not losing sight of what's important today, because I'm so focused on the future, thinking about what we need and who we need to keep this this fight for liberation going. So only thing I honestly, man, it's a toss up because some days I'm like, this is stupid, this is pointless, this is irrelevant. How do we stack our bread and make sure that we have exit strategies and other things I'm not going to mention on Zoom? But then at the same time, I was like, well, shoot, it feels good to see somebody graduate from 8th grade or high school, or it feels good to go to a trunk party. It feels good to hear, Calvin got a job, like, like whatever those things are. Like those are still joyous moments. So I think as I'm very loquacious, but I think what's important is to know, like, what we're doing today is good for the joyous moments today. These are the bite-sized pieces of something sweet that we need to get us through this bigger task. But also remembering, like, we can't lose sight of what's in front of us, but we also have to find the joy in today, because we're not going to want to keep this fight going if we're not radically hopeful of a brighter future.
No, you're so right, man. And to your point, like I've been speaking on it in some of the episodes about a brother reached out, no, his girlfriend reached out to me, and he said, and she was like, hey, my boyfriend wants to write you. He's locked up right now, and he says your podcast is helping him get through his bed. And I don't know if that meant, I know you understand it because what you just said, that meant the world to any endorsement, any other thing, to know that someone going through their bit. It just made me take it so much serious and more conversation and having these, because he's probably going, and he wrote me, like, I got the letter. This was like a few weeks ago. She reached out. I'm like, I don't know if it's spam or nothing. So I was like, let me send it to Blackman Hill PO, like PO box. That's professional. Like if it's somebody that's trying to line me or whatever, like they not got the real address. But the letter came today, bro. It came today, and I was like, damn, I can't wait to open it and read it, because I know that it just made me take this job, this position as bite-sized win, like you said, a lot more serious, because
Right.
I never even considered that they can listen to podcasts in jail.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was a thing. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know it was a thing. But those are the small victories, man. Like you get that text. I have a note in my phone called Royal Reminders, and it's about 4 years old now, going on. I have different ones, but every time I get a text, a handwritten note, a comment on on a social media post or whatever, or someone says something to me verbally, I write it down or screenshot it or whatever and put it in this note. So when I'm having those moments and I'm having my doubt and I feel my son kicking and my wife, and I'm like, how am I going to protect you from this world? And I start to get that anxiousness that's going to keep me up even later, like a PowerPoint or dissertation or grant, then already keep me up all night. I'm finally getting some rest, and now I'm worried about this. Then I scroll through that and remember to keep my crown up. Like I remember to stay positive is bigger than me. But that's what gets me through, right? And sometimes God will just whisper like that to you when you're in passing, and it'll be a letter. It'll be something more tangible. It'll be those big moments, but it's the small ones too we got to look for. It's those, like, I bumped into a student. Her name was Essence. She was one of my employees. She was like a work ready student in like 2015, and she's now in college. And the person who invited me out to Iterations of Black Love, like, she was one of their students. And I'm like, yo, you look from, I know you from somewhere. Like I know students. I don't remember students' names, but I know I taught them. And when she came up to me and just said, hey, it was nice seeing you. I remember that summer. Thank you for blah, blah, blah. Like those are the little victories too that we have to hold on to and appreciate. So I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful.
Yeah, I wanted to share something because this was one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure you got on the podcast, because you shared a very interesting, not even interesting, needed, necessary topic on social media that I wanted you to expound on and give you the opportunity to expound on. And make sure y'all follow.
Dysmorphia enough with men, so here it is. Summer of 1999, I was 9 years old at a summer camp, and it was this counselor I had a crush on. She was probably like 15, 16, but I thought she was grown, all of that. And I remember her saying, "Ew, boy, you know you need to put a shirt on." Everyone cracked up laughing, but I remember just it sounded like a grenade went off, and it was like silence. I remember trying to find a seat, just trying to like hide, and that stayed with me, like that hearing loss from that grenade going off prevented me from being able to hear that I look good from other people. And then it even affected my eyesight. Like every time I looked in the mirror, I saw myself as bigger than I was. So even when I was 6'1", 185 pounds, when I was 19 years old, I still thought I was big. And that caused insecurities in other parts of my life as well. So being insecure damaged me for years, but it took therapy to get out of that. So shout out to Black Men here.
And you got it off the gram with it. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's how this whole conversation started. Or more recently. So what about that post specifically?
Just expound on what made you post it, what made you talk about it, and kind of like why you think men are ashamed to have that conversation out loud.
I think it's different, right? I don't know. I think when you think of weight or beauty standards or like things that things related to appearance, I think men are just conditioned to not trip on them, right? Like if you're the fat friend, you're the fat friend. That's just what people call you. It's like you the fat boy. Like you lean into that. You got to crack a lot of jokes, self-deprecating humor or not. Like if you're the skinny friend, if you're the snaggletooth friend, if you're the friend with no hairline, if you're the whatever, like we just got to get clowned, and that just be that. And we look for other things to boost our or make us more secure, right? But that security can't come from like the things we have. Like I remember telling a story the other day. Like I remember a man who is like 5'9", 5'10", and there was a brother who was taller, like 6'2", 6'3", was saying, "Oh, you drive?" No, it said something about called him short. He said, "Well, yeah, but my BMW, I can't fit I can't be all tall in my coupe or something like that." Like he just had to sprinkle in, "I have money." Like I'm shorter, but I have this. Like so the ways that we have to the ways that we're conditioned to like, as defense mechanisms to, "Oh, that's okay, but I get money though, but you can't beat me though in a fight, or you can't whatever." Like that happens so frequently. But then it's also I think it's the small things too, like the not small, but we are less likely to talk about those things, in my opinion, because if we do, potential partners or people that we are interested in may see us as weak, and that vulnerability is not something that is sexy. Like people don't want to buy Valentine's gifts for people who are vulnerable. People don't want to if you're more of a romantic, people don't want to have sex with people who are vulnerable. People don't want to go into business opportunities or partnerships with people who are vulnerable. That vulnerability can be seen as weakness, and if you're emotional, how dare you make an emotional decision? There's no room for that. So when you're told these things, especially if they're about your physical appearance, you try to find other things to overcompensate, or you lean into it, from my experience of men that I know. So I think that's a part of the challenge there, and being able to just say, "Hey, this is something I deal with, something I've always dealt with." Like the T-shirt that I'm wearing, I got a jacket on because it's cold in here, and I refuse to turn my heat up. Gas is ridiculous right now. But like the shirt I'm wearing is a great like microfiber, like a great like a two for $12 shirt at Macy's I saw, but it's too form fitting, like in my torso, so I would never wear it in public. It makes a great undershirt or house shirt, but for me, like I still got like my COVID-19 I put on. I still got the man boobs I haven't got rid of since 7, 8 years old, which I realize are just a part of my body type, right? But like even when I had a six pack, I still had like man titties, right? Like, but that's who I'm physically supposed to be. Like even my smile, like I was born without one of my teeth. So like when I first got braces, I had to remove the other one. So I go from like the two regular teeth to sharp teeth. And sometimes I take pictures. I'm like, oh, I got like a snaggle. And I had wore braces and they weren't as white as I wanted them to be. Like little things like that I was like, oh, mask came. I can really smile confidently.
Right.
But people like, Kyle, you have a nice smile. And I'm like, I can't hear you because I only hear the negativity. Like I started wearing these crowns because if I'm 6'1", so if anyone who's like most women will be shorter than me, they can't see that my hair was growing back and I didn't have a hairline. So it was like if I wore a crown, it was stylish before I even had this hair on the side, and it was style and I was single. It was stylish and it would just allow me to move through spaces. Shout out to Noble Garb who makes these, but allow me to move through spaces and not worry about people looking at my hairline. Even though I've had people tell me at 24, 25, 26, Kyle, people who love you, they don't care about what your hair look like. And I'm like, I don't want to hear all that. So like when that girl made fun of me on that bus, I can still see her face and hear the laughter. And that's all I heard for decades, like for decades. So it still hit me and it still affects me and how I move through spaces, but through therapy and having great people around me and a great partner like my wife to tell me like it's so like who I am is okay. I wouldn't have grew my hair out if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't even be having conversations about anything that could draw attention to my insecurities if I wasn't in a better space. And I think acknowledging is kind of like if you smell like fish because you was making fish that morning for breakfast, or somebody in your house was, and you talk about it first before your friends do. If you're in middle school, like, oh, I'm thinking about like times when people would actually make fun of you. But even still, people comment like being around kids are brutal. Like, if you could just talk about it first, it's like, okay, well, I spoke about it. So it kind of takes the power away from it, disarms the people who may try to harm me. And at 31, no one's trying to harm me. Like you're kind of safe at this point. So I don't know why I go through that, but yeah.
It's man with like you said, it's funny. I'm not using the phrase "it's funny" in the context. More so, it's ironic that you said that, bro, because since school, and I want to transition into your wife, so this will all sum up into that, and how important role that she plays in it. In school being teased for being short. I'm 5'7", so being cheesed for being short. Had a chipped tooth. Being dark skinned, being too dark, black ass, whatever the case may be. Going into these spaces now, I do have man boobs and mind you, even skinny still, like you said, not even no one talking about that being a part of your body type, having man boobs. This is the first time I'm even having that conversation where I didn't know that it was such an insecurity until it's for me, because I automatically took the power away by mentioning, yeah, I know I'm short, yeah, I'm black, man, or whatever, just trying to remove the power of someone utilizing it against me, not realizing that it was impacting me in some capacity. And so I salute you for even mentioning that, because there's a lot of things. You probably know Rich, where his headline was receding, he was going bald, and he was kind of like, yo, I had a full head of hair, and that men are struggling with body issues as much as women, if not more, because we're not allowed to say it out loud because we might get judged or whatever the case may be. So I appreciate you for sharing that. But what changed the perspective was, what for me was probably my wife, and that kind of played into a part of my therapeutic process, because I couldn't imagine that a pretty girl liked her like me, and just for me being me. And so I was just what do you call it? Insecure. That's the word. I was so insecure that I would cause arguments, I would cause certain things. So much so, Kyle, and I want you to speak to how important your wife is in that space. So much so that I couldn't fathom where what is the word that I'm looking for, where she was attracted to me for me being me, and I would degrade her because it's like, if you attracted to me,
What's
then I don't
wrong with
like your
you?
taste. Yeah, like, what's your taste in men? Because how could you possibly be attracted to me, like you? And so now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yo, that's so crazy that you don't even like yourself enough, that you're you're judging her because it's like you're attracted to me. There's something wrong with you. I don't like your taste in men because I feel like you should be attracted to something way different than who I'm bringing to the table, and that played a part into me wanting to not be here and suicide and therapy and all of those different things. So I summed that up, and I told you we was gonna go back to that. How important is having a partner to preach life into you?
Thank you for sharing that too, man. It's not easy for us to even mention that part, like how we have dropped the ball and allowed our insecurities to spill over into our relationship and harm the people that we love. So that I appreciate you, man. I wish more men did that, like would just recognize like why they whatever compulsory thing they do that harms their partner, like and just acknowledging that and how they brought harm and caused harm, even if it was once or a long time ago. But having a partner who could see me and speak to me and speak like breathe life into me as a friend first. I trusted her because we were friends and we were so honest. Because I had just broke up with my ex. Well, we broke up like a year before. But I think I just finished dealing with my ex, and but she knew I was like in a situation. She was single, just moved to Philly a couple months, but I think the month before, so she was still doing her. So we were able to be really honest in the beginning. Whereas if I met her as someone I was interested in dating, it may have been a lot more secrecy. So I believed her when she told me good things about me. When there was something I was always struggling with and dealing with that I couldn't even like come to grips and say out loud. And I told her, and she was like, "That's it? Like you hate yourself because of that? Like I thought you like murdered children or killed grandmoms or smacked old ladies or something wild. Like I thought you were a monster, like killing puppies or something. And all you tripping about is that? Like pretty much they're letting me know I was in my own head about this thing. I was inflating something that wasn't. I won't say that wasn't that deep because it was deep to me, but when I recognized that she loved me for me and accepted me wholeheartedly for who I was, it allowed me to step out of my comfort zone and take chances and do things that I wouldn't typically do. And you also have a partner. This can happen with your friends too, like a non-intimate partner, but having a partner who knows you that well, it changed things for me because I was able to have someone that knew all of my ugliness, knew my morning breath, knew when I skipped too many showers, knew when I whatever the worst is, enter it here. Like why are you baking cookies at 2:35 a.m. On some drunk stuff on a weeknight? Like what are you doing? But still love me anyway. And having someone like that reminds me like one, I don't care what other women think. So like once you don't care what like well, it depends on who you're attracted to. I'm attracted to women. So once I didn't care like what women thought, like it just changed the game. It was like you move different. Like I don't care. It just I think for me that was the first one. And then it was not caring what other men thought. That's something I'm dealing with now. That's something that I'm still learning to deal with. But having a partner who makes you not care about anyone else's thoughts but your own and like even filter out hers or theirs is important because it's good to know how they feel about us. But when you get that level of self-confidence, it doesn't matter what anybody else says about you, you're going to believe in yourself first and wholeheartedly. So it's kind of hard we've been talking about our relationship a lot lately because we just got married and we go to therapy and the couples want to talk to us about it. But the more it's harder and harder to put into words. I think when it was earlier, like all I know is having a partner that breathes life into me allows me to keep breathing when I don't want to. And now that she's carrying my first child, my son, it's just like it's a different type of beauty. Like it's just like a different type of connection. But then also going back to like, can I protect you? I don't know how to fight physically. I trust that God will not let anything bad happen to me and I'll be able to hold my own if I'm not fighting for pride, like I'm fighting to survive. I trust in that. But it's like, how do I protect and make her feel safe physically when we out and walking around because she's shapely? And what if a man says something? Like, how do I defend her honor in that moment? How do I reciprocate all the good things that she's done for me? But I think as a man, it's just important for us to check in with our partner and just make sure, hey, how do you feel? How can I better support you? So instead of me guessing and trying to figure it out, now we're in the space of like, babe, what can I do? And she'll just tell me because she trusts me. So I kind of answered it, kind of went all over. This is
No,
like
you
pictures of
answered it
her there. It's a
perfectly,
picture
man.
over there.
Like you answered it perfectly. And like you said, like, cause I'm a newlywed, like yourself. July we just got married, but we've been together since 2011. So we've been together 10.
Mm,
We married on the 10th. She
yeah.
went to Shippensburg too, so we've been together for
Hey.
a long, or knew of each
Yeah.
other for a long time. And people are asking us, and I'm like, yo, honestly, a lot of that is just a feeling. Like it really is a feeling. Some things you can't put into words. I'm listening to, or I just finished Will Smith book, and he was talking about how similar women are to water, and you gotta like become one with them and then ride it. It's just like, it was a beautiful analogy, and I don't want to butcher it, but it was really good for me, and starting to learn how to like impact my relationship with it. I was about to get into my final question and talk about the Eco Foundation, but you brought something up, so just know the Eco is coming up after that, and I want to be respectful of your time. um you talked about how liberating it was not to I won't say not to care what women think, but not to have it place so much of a hold, because I know that feeling of like a lot of the things when we doing as men growing up is to impress girls and those different things, so I understand that. But I'll say this. You said the real improvement was not trying to talk about not trying to impress, not even impress. I don't want to use that. Taking the relationship and value that you have with men away, and trying to like get approval from that. Talk about your experience and what you mean by that. Go in that a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I think what it is, the biggest thing is like your homies will clown you, right? Think about being in middle school and y'all bidding on each other. And middle school is all about what do you have, what skills do you bring to the table? What can you do? Like if you're the boy who wear nice sneakers, you're the boy who wear nice. You're the boy who can beat on the table, make the beats, you're the boy who make the beats. If you're the boy who whatever it is, you gotta be that boy. And if you don't have a thing, it's like they're not only going to clown you, but they'll make you feel worthless, or could make you feel worthless. Only you can feel how you feel, right? Um, I think but that's when it starts. Like, if there's a girl you want to date, or a partner, a kid, or not a kid, you're a kid. So if there's like girl, but whoever you're interested in, if there's someone that you're interested in, you express that. Oh, I like Keisha. And then they're like, you like Keisha, dark skinned Keisha, you like fat
Mm-hmm.
Keisha, you like such and such Keisha, like oh Keisha, she used to date that seventh grader. You're in the sixth grader, like, well, I don't know, like, yeah, Keisha slower. She because she used to like such and such for a week. Yeah, they was texting. Well, before texting on, they was like instant messaging or something.
Right.
Like, but like, how do you like you start hearing that, and it's like, oh, I don't like Keisha. No, I
Mm-hmm.
was just playing. I was just trying to hit whatever that
Mm-hmm.
means in fifth grade. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so we pick it up then, and then it's like fast forward to college. I remember dating this girl who was like my girlfriend, and a sophomore, junior, senior, some older dude who had interest in her would be like, yo, man, I'm trying to protect you, man. Like, I ain't trying to see you out here, getting got, but it's me and her. Like, he was in her room taking like pictures off of like a laptop, like camera or whatever. But like literally just like posing, taking pictures. But yeah, I'd be in her room, like she giving me rhythm, like I think she digging me. Like we ain't do nothing yet. I know that was your girl. Somebody told me, so I'm just coming to you first as a man. Putting all this stuff in my head. And it really wasn't even that deep. But the whole thing is like I'll run with it because I don't want to be seen like a sucker to old heads. Or I remember wearing freshman year wearing like this little half a heart, and my ex had the other half a heart. And this old head in the fraternity, it was like a big thing when you're in college. He was like, "You got half a heart. You out here looking like a sucker. Like you don't know what she out here doing. You can't trust these women." Da 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 da. So from barbershops to basketball courts to classrooms to dorms to lunch tables, like you start to hear men's voices be like your peers or older men that you aspire to be like. Their voices are so much louder and their influence is so much more. So over time, you want to do anything that goes against what they think. And right now, I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric of men who just don't like women, like men who just don't particularly care for women that have a platform, especially don't love Black women. But like, there were times where if a woman slept with someone else or two or three other people, I couldn't even mess with her. Mind
Mm-hmm.
you, I slept with everybody, but I
Right.
couldn't mess with her because I couldn't like her emotion.
Right.
I couldn't like cuff her, if you will,
Right.
because that would make me seem soft or weak. And I don't know why that was such a thing. And like just that whole, just how men are conditioned is just It's hard, bro. Peace. Thanks again. It's hard though to like to even like to really truly love your woman and love your partner, because you're questioning all the things that you've been told about women from men who don't like or love women in the first place. So for me, I think that was always hard to deal with. I remember my lady had cleavage, like she had like too much cleavage out. I'm like, and I know I'm about to be around my homies. I'm like, man, what you wearing that for? Like, why am I policing what she's wearing? I need to be worried about my homies looking. And that's the whole
Right.
thing. Like, don't look, bro. Like, you're supposed to be
Right.
my homie, right? So do I trust you or do I not trust you, right?
Right.
And then it's like, well, who now I'm older, so like, who cares? But it's just it's so heavy. It's like, how many bodies you got? Like, what do you mean? How old are we? Like, well, I'm just saying, you know, I just like, doesn't matter. Like, I had a life before you, you had a life before me, but you know, it's just so much of that. For me, that I think it's hard. And also, like now, it's like I got homies that got $250,000 houses, $500,000 houses, $1 million houses, $1,500 a month condos, and like all this other stuff. Like they're having like property and comparing. Like, I'm just starting to see another wave of like who got the nicest J's or nicest sneakers or Air Forces or whatever's popular, except it's property and it's accomplishments and it's this and that. And I feel you got to keep up with them. But the sooner you stop caring, because when I stopped caring about like what women thought, like I still get dressed because I like to get dressed for my partner, and sometimes I like to throw that ish on because I like to feel good. I know I smell good, like I know I'm moving a certain way, but at the same time, it's just not about. It's just I don't care like to let me go walk past that table so they can say something just so I can reject them. Like I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like I don't. It's just a different space, and I think with men, it's just more like moving more confidently and just blocking that out. Plus, I don't really know a lot of men either, so it's like the few men I do know, I cared a lot more about what they thought than I should.
Nah, I agree with you, man. You broke that down so eloquently. And one of the last things that I had to throw away or I worked on was like, why am I turning up the music on the block on the car to the song? So that way when I come on the block, there's entrance music when you come on when you get out the car and
I
people
do
know
that
which
too, though.
you it's like, no,
Oh,
we
we
missed that
watch too
part of the
much
song.
TV, man. That's from TV. That gotta be a TV thing. I be feeling like I'm in a music video. Don't let it be sunny. Don't let me.
They had a little heat day the other day, and I'm like, all right, I gotta get a car wash because I know
Have
that
my
I got.
windows down. My son.
So I
Oh
definitely
God.
understand, man, and that is something that we do have to just break and work on. But on one of the last things I wanted to talk about, so I can let you get out of here and continue all the things that the beautiful things that you were doing. Eco Center, man, Eco Foundation, all the work that you're doing. Talk to me about your baby.
Oh man, so the Eco Foundation was started back in 2018 officially. I quit my day job to start this work in 2016 when it was a for-profit. And in short, man, Eco stands for Education, Culture, Opportunity. So we creatively teach people, whether it's someone who already has a curriculum or a skill that they want to teach someone else. We help them make it more edutaining. So mixing education plus entertainment, whether it's a training, a professional development, a class, workshop, whatever, certification, whatever, we make it more fun. Culture. So cultural experiences like Nappy Hour pop-up happens every Friday during Black History Month. We give Black businesses opportunity to come kick it for the culture. Open mic, soul events, which is sounds of upcoming legends, giving artists a platform to share their talent. And then opportunities. We hire people. I put our money where our mission is. So we have the Young Bull program where young people get paid as young as 10 years old. They get financial incentives to people who are older and make 18, 20, $25 an hour. And if you're teaching, ends up being about $30 to $35 an hour to come work with us and help us give out food, give out toiletries, hit houses, voter registration, whatever it is we're doing, whatever time of year it is. Young people are at the forefront of that, learning how to do it. But we also pay them to take classes, so they're on the clock to take self-defense, to take right now we do have mental health classes with a sister named Michelle. Michelle has a book called Little Z and Firefly. So Michelle has a workbook associated with a children's book, and then young people are in that class getting paid to learn about her children's book. But music production with people like Brother Eli, his Y Teams program, self-defense with Brother Russ, sign language with Sister Akira, like just making sure we have these classes that kids are learning while also being paid, and then they serve their community. They have to learn how to serve themselves first, and making sure we consistently put money at it. So we finally bought the building that our community center is in. This is from our ribbon cut in August 20th. And we bought the building that has 4 apartments upstairs. Our tenants are a hair salon, and we're the other half of the building, which is our community center. And that's where we do our work. That's our one-stop shop, 5411 Market Street. And yeah, and we're in schools every day. We have summer programs, and we're always hiring. So send them our way.
Nah, man, I appreciate the work that you do. Is very necessary and needed, and it's legendary work. If you see me comment on social media now, it's all been like legendary, because I don't think we get roses and things. We don't appreciate it till it's gone, it's over, and it's done. And it's like, yo, no, you're doing legendary work. So salute to you and the work that you're doing, man.
Appreciate that, family. I truly do. And same to you. I know it's not easy. Y'all as an organization, you as an individual, I see you, and it's just, a matter of pulling people up and shining light where we can. So thank you.
Now, I appreciate you for coming on. And on that note, make sure y'all follow him. I'm gonna put the Instagram over his head in the video, and it'll be on the page for you all to connect with him. And make sure y'all go out there, subscribe, share, follow, share this information, share some of the things Kyle dropped in this space. Let him know the work that he's doing, or let the world know the work that he's doing, so we can continue to get this support. And remember that this platform has never been about being a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.